Power BI Developer Mode is the name of a new file format that's been released by Microsoft. So previously, we used to save things in what we called a PBIX. That's a Power BI file. You can also save it in a PBIT, which is a Power BI template file. Not really relevant, but those are the two options we have. So normally we'd save things in PBIXs. However, when you turn on Power BI Developer Mode, it lets you save things in a new format called PBIP. It stands for Power BI Project. And what this is instead of getting one single PBIX file, it actually saves things into a folder. Within this folder, this PBIP folder, you have two subfolders, one with report and one with dataset. And it actually spits out all the bits of Power BI in the report and in the dataset, the model, the semantic model, into little code files. And these are mostly JSON files. So what it's doing is it's saving our PBIX into code files. So this is obviously a huge step because Git you can only do on code. So the Power BI project, the developer mode, is a mode for Power BI that opens you to be able to do Git. So within our folder, the Power BI project, you can actually open these files. They're just text files. Now I've said Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is just a text editor. You could use Notepad, right? But I like to use an example of Visual Studio Code. It's free and it's Microsoft owned and it does Git really well. It has add-ins for Git. So it doesn't have to be code, but we're doing that as an example because it's one of the most popular and one of the best for using Git. So if I wanted now, I can actually edit the code directly. I can change my reports by typing without having to open a desktop. Probably not the easiest thing to do, but you can. Visual Studio Code, also you can initiate Git within Studio Code. So you can open Studio Code and it has a button and you can initiate Git. And this has that little database, right, which has these saved versions of these commits that you make in your local repository, all of that stuff in Git. So that's why I use the example of Studio Code as a Git. You can start with it. And not only can you sync, on your local machine, but then this is where you would sync to your repo. So currently, as the time of recording, it only syncs to Azure DevOps if you want to sync it up to Power BI. However, if you use Azure DevOps, I can have a repo in Azure DevOps. Here, before this, we would have done our branches. We'll be connecting to maybe a feature branch, something like that. And then I'll copy this to my local machine. And I use Visual Studio Code as my main way of managing Git. And that's kind of the link where I can edit the files in my PBIP folder, which is my Power BI folder. I can then do diff compares, right, and see the things I've changed on my local machine, see how they are different to my repo. Then, obviously I can sync this up, and I can merge my changes back into Azure DevOps, go through the whole process, and if you're using Microsoft Fabric, this DevOps will actually sync with a Fabric workspace. So once you sync it and you merge your changes into DevOps, you merge your branches and you deploy it, this is automatically captured into Fabric. Then everything's in the Fabric in the new workspaces. This is then when you'll do your deployment pipelines in the Fabric to move your code from that dev workspace, which you've synced up with DevOps and Git, all the way through to GitHub.